Will they get the help? It's going to have to go through a special task force that has been assembled in Congress. One of the members of that task force is Congressman Jared Moskowitz, representative from Florida, a Democrat from Florida, and he is part of this task force, and he's joining us right now. Congressman, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. So, look, we've had 2 attempts in 2 months, and the rhetoric, everybody's saying you need to tone it down. That's not going to happen. We know that. So time is of the essence. Realistically, how quickly can Congress and then the Secret Service act?
Well, first of all, I think Congress could act pretty quickly. We could attach it to the CR, which we have to do to keep the government open. So from a legislative standpoint, we could act within the next week to 10 days. The problem is then going to be to add, 100 more, 200 more people. That's going to take, months, if not the balance of a year. So that's, the manpower issue is not going to get solved just by throwing money at it over the next couple of weeks. I think there's also policy and protocol issues within the Secret Service. If you look at the 2 instances, I think one of the things they have in common is that the perimeters established around the former president seem to be too small. People are able to get within distance to the former president of just a couple of 100 yards and bring a weapon. And so I think this is not just a manpower resource issue. I also think that the Secret Service has to change their protocols around the former president.
So will the task force be addressing that with the Secret Service? Like you said, you can throw money at it and bring people in, but in the immediacy, can someone call out the Secret Service for the procedures that are being that they're using at these rallies, at different appearances for the former president and all their protectees, really?
Well, I think you're seeing that. I think you're seeing that on a bipartisan basis. So far, the task force has been working on a bipartisan basis. Obviously, just a couple of months ago, it would have been an American tragedy live on television for the world to see had that bullet been a couple of inches in a different direction. And so this is of the utmost importance. We have to restore faith in our institutions in our country. And right now, we have to restore faith within the Secret Service. Just think about how ridiculous this is, gentlemen. First, I never thought in the first 2 years in Congress that I would ever be appointed to a task force addressing a potential assassination of a former president, let alone only be 30 days into that task force, now looking at a second assassination attempt of the former president. So we have to figure out how to fix this. It's not just important for former President Trump, it's important for President Joe Biden, for Vice President Kamala Harris, and for restoring faith in our institutions.
I want to ask you about a sensitive issue. There has been some criticism of the Secret Service that one of the problems has been DEI, that they have established quotas to bring more women in. And I don't think anybody's saying women aren't competent, but there are issues of height and also issues of training. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the former director had flunked one of the tests, yet she eventually became director. But that has become an issue. People are talking about it. What say you?
I think that's something that the task force is going to look at, because we have to look at the entire thing as far as what is working, what is not working, and what needs to be changed. I mean, if there are systemic problems within the Secret Service, then I think we have to look at that. Former President Trump has not said that. Former President Trump has said that the people around him are very professional. He has thanked them. And so, at least from his standpoint, he has not voiced that concern publicly.
You mentioned that this is the task force is bipartisan. I'm wondering if, because we are so close to Election Day, does it help or hurt the process, all of the political rhetoric around this?
Democrats and Republicans can be smarter in our language, but we also have to be honest. We have to recognize that we have a mental health issue in this country, and we allow people who are having mental health episodes, people who are mentally ill, go out and buy weapons of war. And so, I asked the Secret Service director, the fact that the weapon technology has gotten better in this country and you can pick somebody off from hundreds of yards away, does that make your job harder? And she said yes, after struggling with that question, which is why one of the reasons she's no longer the director. And so this is a toxic soup. It's between the language, between people having mental illness, and between people being able to get weapons of war very easily. All of that together is why we've seen not just mass shootings in this country rise, but now unfortunate political violence against former President Trump. So Democrats and Republicans together, including the former president, who is very good at weaponizing language, all of us have a duty, in my opinion, to try to tone it down.
I got to say, you have an unenviable task, as you mentioned, between the level of gun use in this country, the fact that people can create their own semi-automatics, the level of rhetoric in this country, and just the staffing of the Secret Service, and you've got to act quickly. It feels daunting.
It's a huge task. Congress has to get its act together, especially as we get into the 119th Congress, and figure out that there are Democrats and Republicans up here that want to work together. We disagree. We're going to argue, but that we want to work together to try to solve some of these problems for the American people.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you do.
We so appreciate the time, Congressman.
Appreciate the time. And hopefully you'll have some answers about the Secret Service. It's obviously a very critical issue, needs to be addressed immediately. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate it. We're